Hi again, everyone. I am so thrilled to have you back here on the English Learning Platform. Think about your day today. Did you look at your phone to check the price of a gadget? Did you receive a brown cardboard box at your doorstep with a smile printed on the side? Or perhaps you're reading a book on a digital screen right now. It is almost impossible to imagine a world without the convenience of modern e-commerce. But, as we always say here, every global empire began as a single, quiet thought in someone's mind. In our last episode, we explored the life of Steve Jobs. We saw how he moved from a dusty garage in California to revolutionizing the entire world of technology with Apple. It was a story of design, beauty, and perfection. But today, we're going to travel to a different kind of builder. We're looking at a man who didn't start with sleek computers. He started with dusty paperbacks and hardcovers. Today, we are diving into the extraordinary journey of Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. This isn't just a story about money or business. This is a story about vision. Picture this. It is 1994. Jeff is a successful, high-earning executive on Wall Street in New York City. He has what most people would call the dream life. He has a stable job, a great salary, and a bright future in finance. But while everyone else was looking at their bank accounts, Jeff was looking at a computer screen. He saw a statistic that changed his life. The internet was growing by 2,300% every single year. While others saw a fad or a toy for nerds, Jeff saw a tidal wave. He did something that most people thought was absolutely insane. He quit his comfortable job, packed his life into a car, and drove across the United States to a city called Seattle. He didn't have a giant warehouse or a fancy office. He had a garage, a few wooden doors used as desks, and a dream to build the everything store. As we go through this journey, we are going to focus on our main themes, turning a small idea into a global empire, and the philosophy of starting small while thinking big. Throughout this narration, I will be using intermediate English, B1 to B2. This means I will use clear, natural sentences and common vocabulary, but I will also introduce you to the way native speakers actually talk about business, risk, and success. If you want to move from being a student to being a confident speaker, you need more than just grammar. You need idioms and phrasal verbs. In this story, we are going to master phrases that you can use in your next job interview, in a business meeting, or when talking to your friends about your own goals. We will explore to take a leap of faith, learn how to describe taking a big risk when the future is uncertain. To push through, how to talk about staying strong when things get difficult. And customer is king, the phrase that defines the modern business world. Jeff Bezos faced years of people telling him no. He faced years of losing millions of dollars before he ever made a profit. But through innovation and a relentless customer focus, he turned the corner. So, grab a notebook, find a comfortable seat, and get ready. Whether you are a student, a professional, or an aspiring entrepreneur, this story is for you. We aren't just learning English today, we are learning the language of persistence. Ready? Let's start the story. Close your eyes and travel back to the mid-1990s. The sound of dial-up internet is filling the air, and a young man is sitting in a New York office looking out the window, wondering, what if? Ready? Let's start the story. Picture yourself in the 1990s when the internet was new and exciting. The story. Chapter 1. A good job, but a bigger dream. The year was 1994. The world was a very different place. people listened to music on CDs, and if you wanted to buy a book, you had to put on your shoes, get in your car, and drive to a physical building called a bookstore. If that store didn't have the book you wanted, you were out of luck. In the heart of New York City, in a tall glass skyscraper overlooking the busy streets of Manhattan, Jeff Bezos was living what many would call the perfect life. At 30 years old, he was the youngest senior vice president at a successful investment firm on Wall Street. He was brilliant with computers and even better with numbers. His salary was high, his office was comfortable, and his future was secure. But Jeff had a habit that set him apart from his colleagues. He was a dreamer who backed his dreams with data. One afternoon, while browsing the early, primitive version of the Internet, he stumbled upon a statistic that made him stop in his tracks. The Internet is growing at 2,300% per year, the report read. Jeff didn't just see a number, he saw a revolution. He realized that this World Wide Web wasn't just for scientists and government officials. It was going to be the new town square. It was going to be the biggest marketplace in human history. Jeff couldn't sleep. He kept thinking, if the Internet is growing this fast, everything is going to change. People will shop online. They will buy clothes, electronics, and food from their computers. But where should I start? He decided on books. Why? Because there are millions of book titles in print, and even the largest physical bookstore in the world couldn't fit them all under one roof. But a virtual bookstore? It could hold everything. However, Jeff faced a massive dilemma. He had a stable career. He had a wife, Mackenzie, whom he loved dearly. Taking a risk meant potentially losing everything. He went to his boss, a man he respected, and explained his idea for an online bookstore. His boss took a long walk with him through Central Park. He listened patiently and then said, "Jeff, that sounds like a wonderful idea for someone who doesn't already have a good job." Jeff had to make a choice. Would he stay in the golden cage of Wall Street, or would he take a leap of faith into the unknown? To decide, he used what he called the regret minimization framework. He imagined himself at 80 years old, looking back on his life. He knew that at 80, he wouldn't regret trying this Internet thing and failing, but he knew for a fact that he would regret never trying at all. He decided that zero regret was worth more than a steady paycheck. Jeff told his boss, "I'm leaving." It wasn't an easy conversation, but Jeff's mind was made up. He and Mackenzie packed their most essential belongings into their car. They didn't just move to the next town, they drove all the way across the country, from the East Coast to the West Coast to Seattle, Washington. Why Seattle? Jeff was thinking outside the box. He chose Seattle because it was a hub for technology. Microsoft was nearby, and at the time, Washington State didn't charge sales tax on books shipped to other states. It was a strategic, long-term move. When they arrived, there were no red carpets or fancy launch parties. They rented a modest house with a dark, cramped garage. This was their headquarters. Jeff didn't have money to waste on expensive furniture. He went to a local hardware store, bought a wooden door, and nailed 4 wooden legs to it. This was his desk. It was shaky, it was ugly, and it was perfect. It was a symbol of his philosophy, frugality. He believed that every dollar spent on a fancy desk was a dollar taken away from the customer's experience. In that garage, surrounded by tangled wires and the hum of old computers, the everything store began to breathe. They weren't just building a website, they were building a new way of life. Jeff was starting small, but as he looked at that door desk, he was thinking bigger than anyone else in the world. The atmosphere in the Seattle garage was electric, but it was also messy. Cables snaked across the floor like vines in a jungle. Jeff and his small team, which consisted of just a few talented programmers and his wife, Mackenzie, knew they were on to something big. But before they could conquer the world, they had a very basic problem. They needed a name. Choosing a name for a business is never easy. Jeff knew that the name would be the first thing a customer saw. It had to be memorable, and it had to represent the scale of his ambition. Initially, Jeff was fond of the word cadabra, short for abracadabra. He liked the idea that shopping online should feel like magic. You click a button and presto, a book appears. However, he quickly realized this was a misstep. When he told his lawyer the name over the phone, the lawyer misheard him. "Cadaver?" the lawyer asked, sounding horrified. "Why would you name a company after a dead body?" Jeff realized immediately that if people couldn't spell or pronounce the name correctly, the business would be dead on arrival. He went back to the drawing board. He began flipping through a dictionary. He stopped at the letter A. In those days, website directories were often listed alphabetically. If your name started with A, you were at the top of the list. Then he saw it. Amazon. "This is it," he told Mackenzie. The Amazon wasn't just a river, it was the largest river in the world by volume. It was exotic, it was vast, and it was unstoppable. "Our store won't just be big," Jeff said. "It will be the biggest bookstore on earth." He wasn't just selling books, he was selling a vision of endless choice. In July 1995, the team finally hit the enter key. Amazon.com was live. In the beginning, there were no fancy marketing campaigns or expensive TV commercials. Jeff told his friends and family, and word slowly began to spread through the early internet forums. Whenever a customer made a purchase, a bell would ring on the office computers. Ding! At first, the bell only rang a few times a day. The team would cheer, jump up from their door desks, and gather around the monitor to see who the customer was. It felt like a victory every single time. But soon, the bell started ringing so often that they had to turn it off. It was becoming a distraction. Success brought a new challenge: fulfillment. Since they had no giant warehouses yet, the garage became the packing center. Jeff, the CEO of the company, spent his nights on his hands and knees on the hard concrete floor. "Tape, bubble wrap, ship," he would chant. They were so small that they didn't even have packing tables. Jeff would later joke that the best investment he ever made wasn't a computer, but knee pads for his staff so they wouldn't hurt themselves while packing boxes on the floor. One afternoon, a customer in the Seattle area ordered a book. In the rush of the day, Jeff noticed a typo on the shipping label. Instead of waiting for the mailman, Jeff grabbed the package, hopped in his car, and drove across town. When he knocked on the door and handed the book to the surprised customer, he didn't just deliver a product, he delivered a promise. "We will always go the extra mile," he told the team later. If the customer is happy, they will tell their friends. That is the only marketing we need. This philosophy of customer obsession became the heartbeat of the company. It wasn't about the technology, it was about the person on the other side of the screen. Sales began to climb, from a few books a day to hundreds, then thousands. The little river was starting to grow into a flood. By 1997, the world was starting to take notice of the little bookstore in Seattle. Amazon had successfully gone public, meaning its stock was now being traded on Wall Street. Jeff Bezos, once the employee of a finance firm, was now the CEO of a public company. But while the number of customers grew into the hundreds of thousands, there was a strange problem. Amazon wasn't making a penny of profit. In fact, it was losing millions. In the Amazon offices, which were now slightly larger than a garage but still very humble, Jeff was restless. He paced around the room, looking at charts of their success. "Books are just the beginning," he declared during a high-stakes meeting. "We have the platform. We have the trust. Now let's sell music, then toys, then electronics. We are going to become the everything store." To the outside world, this sounded like a recipe for disaster. Investors and financial reporters were confused. "How can you sell toys when you are already losing money on books?" they asked. Jeff didn't blink. He explained his philosophy of long-term thinking. "If we focus on making a profit today, we will be a small company forever. But if we invest every dollar back into the business, into better technology, bigger warehouses, and lower prices, we will scale up massively. We are playing the long game." As the company grew from 10 employees to hundreds, Jeff worried about corporate bloat, the idea that big companies become slow and lazy. To prevent this, he invented the two-pizza rule. If a team is so big that you can't feed them with just 2 large pizzas, Jeff argued, then the team is too large. He believed that small teams could communicate better, move faster, and think outside the box more effectively. During one of these small team sessions, a young engineer brought up a radical idea. "Jeff, what if we let customers write reviews on our website? Even if they hate the book, we should let them say so." Many executives were terrified. "If people say a book is bad, no one will buy it. We will lose sales." Jeff smiled. He saw something they didn't. "We don't make money when we sell things. We make money when we help customers make purchase decisions. If a review is honest, it builds trust. And in the long run, trust is more valuable than a single sale." This was a perfect example of his customer-centric approach. However, the road to success is rarely a straight line. In the late 1990s, the dot-com bubble was at its peak. Every company with a .com in its name was seeing its stock price explode. It felt like a party that would never end. But in 2000, the bubble finally burst. Investors panicked. They realized that many of these internet companies had no real business plan. Stock prices across the tech industry crashed. Amazon's stock price, which had been over $100, plummeted to just $6. In less than a year, the company's value fell by over 90%. The media was brutal. Headlines called the company Amazon.toast, implying that the business was burnt and finished. Employees were nervous. Some of them had their entire life savings in company stock. They looked at Jeff, expecting to see a man in despair. Instead, they found him focused. He looked at the internal data. "Our stock price is down," he told his team, "but our customers are still buying more books than ever. The business is stronger than the stock market thinks. We just need to push through." He knew that to survive, they would have to be more efficient than ever. They were entering a winter for tech companies, and only the strongest would see the spring. The year 2001 was a make-or-break year for Amazon. The excitement of the 90s was gone, replaced by a harsh reality. The dot-com crash had wiped out many of Amazon's competitors, and the financial world was waiting for Amazon to fail next. Inside the Seattle headquarters, the mood was heavy. For the first time in the company's history, Jeff Bezos had to do something he hated. He had to lay off 1,300 employees, about 15% of his workforce. "This is the hardest thing we've ever had to do," Jeff told the remaining team members in a somber meeting. "These people are our friends and colleagues, but if we don't cut our costs now, there will be no Amazon left for anyone." Jeff knew that to turn the corner, they couldn't just save money, they had to stay hungry for innovation. While other companies were playing it safe, Jeff decided to take another massive risk. He launched Amazon Marketplace. This was a revolutionary idea. He allowed other businesses, even small mom-and-pop shops, to sell their products directly on the Amazon website. Some employees were worried. If we let others sell on our site, won't they steal our customers? Jeff's response was classic long-term thinking. If a customer can find a better price or a better selection from a third-party seller on our site, that's a win for the customer. And if the customer wins, Amazon wins. This move turned Amazon from a store into a platform. By 2004, Amazon was finally starting to breathe again. But Jeff noticed a new threat, the digital world. He realized that eventually physical books might become less popular. Instead of waiting for someone else to change the industry, he decided to disrupt his own business. He started a secret project called Lab 126. The goal? To build a device that would let you buy and download any book in less than 60 seconds. In 2007, Jeff stood on a stage and held up a strange white electronic device. "This is the Kindle," he said. "It's not just a gadget, it's an ecosystem." Critics laughed. Why would anyone want to read on a screen when they can hold a real book? But Jeff knew that convenience was the ultimate selling point. The Kindle didn't just sell, it exploded. It changed the way the world consumed literature and finally helped the company become consistently profitable. Jeff never allowed the team to get comfortable. He was obsessed with efficiency. He looked at his giant warehouses, now called fulfillment centers, and saw that humans were spending too much time walking between shelves. What if the shelves came to the people? He asked. This led to the acquisition of Kiva Systems, a company that built orange circular robots. These robots would slide under tall shelves and carry them across the floor to the workers. As the technology improved, Jeff pushed for faster delivery. He knew that in the modern world, waiting a week was too long. 2-day shipping should be the standard, then 1 day, then maybe one day we'll deliver by drone. The employees were pushed to their limits. The hours were long, and the goals were insanely high. Jeff often told them, you can work long, you can work hard, or you can work smart, but at Amazon, you can't choose 2 out of 3. He believed that they weren't just delivering packages, they were reimagining how human beings interact with the physical world. Through sheer persistence and a refusal to give up on the big dream, Amazon didn't just survive the tough times, it used them to become a titan. By the time the 2010s arrived, the name Amazon was no longer synonymous with just books or toys. It had become a giant digital ecosystem that touched almost every part of modern life. If you wanted to watch a movie, you used Prime Video. If you wanted to store data for your company, you used Amazon Web Services, AWS. If you were hungry, you could order groceries through Amazon Fresh. One of the most incredible parts of this growth was something the average customer never even saw. Inside Amazon, the engineers had built a massive network of computers to run their own store. Jeff realized that other companies, startups, Netflix, and even the government needed that same power. Let's rent our computers to the world, he suggested. This became AWS, Amazon Web Services. It was a massive pivot. Suddenly, Amazon wasn't just a retailer, it was a utility company, like the ones that provide water or electricity. Today, a huge portion of the internet runs on Amazon's cloud. It was a classic example of monetizing a problem they had already solved for themselves. As the company's value soared into the trillions of dollars, Jeff Bezos became one of the wealthiest individuals in history. Yet, for a long time, he was famous for his lack of flashiness. There is a famous story of Jeff in the late 90s, already a multimillionaire, still driving a 1996 Honda Accord. When an interviewer asked him why he didn't buy a Ferrari, Jeff laughed and said, "This is a perfectly good car. It gets me where I need to go." He wanted to send a message to his employees. Every cent we save on ourselves is a cent we can give back to the customer. Even if he grew older and his lifestyle changed, he tried to keep that day one mentality, the idea that the company should always act like a hungry, energetic startup. However, being at the top of the mountain means everyone is watching you. As Amazon became a global superpower, it faced intense scrutiny. Critics pointed out that the pace in the warehouses was too fast and that workers were under too much pressure. Jeff had to learn a new lesson. As a leader, you must listen to the quiet voices as much as the data. "We want to be Earth's best employer," Jeff admitted in a letter to shareholders. He began to focus on raising the minimum wage for his workers and investing in safety technology. He realized that to be a truly great company, you have to go the extra mile, not just for the person buying the box, but for the person packing it. Jeff's vision didn't stop at the atmosphere. He used his success to fund Blue Origin, a private aerospace company. His goal? To make space travel cheaper so that millions of people could one day live and work in space. "We need to protect this planet," he explained in a talk. "And to do that, we need to move our heavy industries into space." It was the ultimate long-term thinking. Just as he saw the potential of the Internet in 1994, he saw the potential of the stars in the 2020s. In 2021, after nearly 30 years at the helm, Jeff decided to step down as CEO. He wanted to focus on his space dreams and his Day One fund for charity, but his legacy was already set in stone. Once, a young intern at the Seattle headquarters asked Jeff, "Jeff, what is the secret? How do you go from a garage to all of this?" Jeff leaned back in his chair, no longer a door desk, but still a place of work. "It's simple, but not easy. Start with the customer and work backwards. Don't be afraid to be misunderstood for a long time. Take big risks, but make sure they are calculated. And most importantly, never ever stop being an inventor." As we look back at the journey that began in a small Seattle garage, we see more than just a successful business story. We see a blueprint for the modern world. Jeff Bezos didn't just build a store, he changed the DNA of how we live. Today, millions of packages fly across the globe every single hour. Amazon's legacy is found in the thousands of small businesses that now have a global audience because of the marketplace. It is found in the millions of jobs created in logistics, technology, and customer service. But perhaps most importantly, Jeff's legacy is found in the mindset he left behind. The biggest risk is not taking any risk. Jeff proved that you don't need a massive office or millions of dollars to start something great. You only need a wooden door for a desk, a clear vision, and the willingness to be misunderstood for a very long time. He taught us that innovation isn't just about robots and satellites. It's about having the courage to ask, how can I make this better for someone else? Now, I want you to take a deep breath and think about your own journey. Why are you here? Why are you listening to this story on the English learning platform? Just like Jeff Bezos looked at the internet in 1994 and saw a 2,300% growth rate, you are looking at your future. You know that English is the internet of the modern career. It is the language that connects people, opens doors to global companies, and allows you to share your ideas with the world. Start small, think big. Maybe today your English feels like that messy garage. Maybe you feel like your vocabulary is small, or you are worried about making mistakes. That is okay. Remember, Jeff Bezos was packing boxes on his knees for years before he became a billionaire. Don't wait to be perfect to start. Start with simple sentences today. Practice speaking for just 5 minutes in the shower. Read one page of a book. These are your garage days. Take your leap of faith. To become fluent, you must be willing to take a leap of faith. Talk to people, even if your heart is beating fast. Watch videos without subtitles, even if you only understand 50%. Make mistakes. At Amazon, every failure was just data to help them improve. Every time you use the wrong verb tense, you're actually scaling up your brain's ability to learn. Push through the .com crash. There will be days when you feel like your progress has plummeted. There will be times when you feel Amazon.toast, like you'll never reach your goals. In those moments, you must push through. Use long-term thinking. Don't worry about being perfect this week. Think about how much better you will be in 1 year if you just don't quit. Your language toolkit. As you go about your day, try to use the phrases we learned. When you're helping a colleague at work, remember that the customer is king. When a problem seems impossible, try to think outside the box to find a creative solution. If you have a big decision to make, use the regret minimization framework. Ask yourself, will I regret not trying this when I am 80? You are building your own empire, one word at a time. Your everything store is your mind, and every new idiom you learn is a new product on the shelf. Thank you so much for joining me today on the English Learning Platform. This story of Jeff Bezos and Amazon reminds us that no dream is too big if you are willing to start small. If this story inspired you today, please show your support. Like this video, subscribe to our channel so you never miss a lesson, and comment below with your favorite part of the story. Which idiom was your favorite? Are you a long-term thinker? I read every single comment, and I love hearing your stories. Next time, we're going to travel back in time to the American South to see how Sam Walton took one small variety store and built Walmart into the world's largest retailer by focusing on the power of the people. It's a story of humble beginnings and massive impact that you won't want to miss. Until then, keep thinking big, keep taking risks, and keep practicing your English. The world is waiting to hear what you have to say. Stay hungry for success, and I will see you in the next video. As we close the book on the story of Amazon, I want you to take a moment and look at your own journey. Just like Jeff Bezos turned a small online bookstore into a global empire by starting small and thinking big, you have the power to do the exact same thing with your English skills. When Jeff was in that garage in 1994, he didn't have 1 million customers. He had one desk, one computer, and a lot of work to do. Your garage is where you are right now. Maybe you're at your kitchen table, on a bus, or at your office. Your empire is your future, the new job, the ability to travel anywhere, or the confidence to start your own business. Taking your leap of faith. If you want to reach that future, you must be willing to take a leap of faith. In English learning, a leap of faith means speaking to a native speaker even when your heart is racing. It means watching a difficult movie without subtitles, even if you only understand 50%. It means making mistakes and laughing about them. Remember Jeff's regret minimization framework. When you're 80 years old, you won't regret the times you used the wrong grammar, but you will regret the times you stayed silent because you were afraid. Scaling up your skills. Don't be discouraged if you aren't fluent yet. Practice speaking a little every day. Write one email, learn 5 new words, or listen to one more chapter of this story. These are the small investments that will eventually allow you to scale up. When it gets difficult, and it will, you must push through. There is a dot-com crash in every student's journey, a moment where you feel like you aren't improving. But as Jeff said, the business is stronger than the market thinks. Your brain is learning more than you realize. Stay the course. Be persistent. Practical application. The CEO of your language. I want to challenge you to use these phrases in your real life this week. At your job, look for a way to go the extra mile for a colleague. When you face a problem at home, try to think outside the box to find a creative solution. Remind yourself that in your career, the customer is king, whether that customer is your boss, your client, or your student. You are building your own empire, one word at a time. Every new sentence is a new package delivered to your future self. Conclusion. Thank you so much for joining me today on the English Learning Platform. This story of Jeff Bezos and Amazon reminds us that no dream is too big if you are willing to start small. If this story inspired you today, please show your support. Like this video, subscribe to our channel so you never miss a lesson, and comment below with your favorite part of the story. Are you a long-term thinker? Which idiom from today's lesson are you going to use first? I read every single comment, and I love hearing your stories. Next time, we're going to travel back in time to the American South to see how Sam Walton took one small variety store and built Walmart into the world's largest retailer by keeping prices low and always thinking about the people. It's a story of humble beginnings and massive impact that you won't want to miss. Until then, keep thinking big, keep taking risks, and keep practicing your English. The world is waiting to hear what you have to say. Stay hungry for success, and I will see you in the next video.
Hi again, everyone. Welcome back to the English Learning Platform. Last time, we followed Steve Jobs from a garage to revolutionizing tech with Apple. Today, let's travel to a different kind of builder, one who started with books and ended up changing how the whole world shops. Let's look at the vocabularies used in his story. Here is the final vocabulary summary for the Amazon story. These terms are essential for any English learner looking to work in business, entrepreneurship, or professional environments. Construction icon, the builder's vocabulary, and the ultimate English learning word list. Think outside the box, idiom. To think creatively and find non-traditional solutions to problems. Application. Perfect for brainstorming sessions, job interviews, or describing innovation. Example. We couldn't solve the shipping delay with our usual methods, so we had to think outside the box and find a new partner. Scale up. Phrasal verb. To increase the size, scale, or reach of a business or project. Application. Use this when talking about growth, expansion, or increasing production. Example. Our online course was a success locally, so now we're ready to scale up and market it globally. Go the extra mile. Idiom. To do more than what is expected or required to ensure success or happiness. Application. Great for performance reviews or describing high-quality customer service. Example. The hotel staff went the extra mile by decorating our room for our anniversary without us even asking. Long-term thinking. Noun phrase. The practice of making decisions based on how they will affect the future rather than focusing on immediate results. Application. Use in strategic planning or when discussing investment and education. Example. Learning English requires long-term thinking. You won't be fluent in a week, but the effort pays off in years. Push through. Phrasal verb. To continue working or moving forward despite being tired, bored, or facing obstacles. Application. Useful for motivational contexts or describing a difficult period at work. Example. It was a very difficult month for the team, but we pushed through and met our deadline. Customer is king. Proverb or phrase. The belief that the customer's needs and satisfaction are the most important part of a business. Application. Used to describe a company's philosophy or a service-oriented mindset. Example. At Amazon, the customer is king. Every new feature is designed to make their life easier. Turn the corner. Idiom. To start to improve after a period of difficulty, failure, or being in the red, losing money. Application. Used to describe a recovery in health, business, or even your English studies. Example. The startup lost money for 3 years, but they finally turned the corner and are now making a profit. Section 1. Entrepreneurship and risk. Take a leap of faith. Idiom. To do something risky with an uncertain outcome, relying on trust or hope. Use. When talking about life-changing decisions. Application. Career changes, moving countries, starting a business. Example. She took a leap of faith and moved to Tokyo to start her English teaching career. Start from scratch. Idiom. To begin something from the very beginning with no help, existing tools, or prior work. Use. When discussing building something new. Application. Construction, new projects, learning a language from zero. Example. I didn't have any materials, so I had to start my research from scratch. Regret minimization framework. Term. A mental model where you make choices based on which path will cause the least regret in old age. Use. When explaining the logic behind a difficult decision. Application. Long-term planning, personal growth, quitting a job. Example. I used the regret minimization framework to decide whether to quit my comfortable job. Calculated risk. Noun phrase. A danger or risk taken only after carefully weighing the pros and cons. Use. To show that a risk was smart and planned, not a gamble. Application. Finance, business strategy, high-stakes decisions. Example. Opening the second store was a calculated risk, but the market data suggested it would work. Make or break. Idiom. A situation or event that will result in either total success or total failure. Use. To describe a moment of extreme pressure. Application. Product launches, final exams, crucial investor meetings. Example. The presentation tomorrow is a make or break moment for our contract. Section 2. Business strategy and growth. Scale up. Phrasal verb. To increase the size, amount, or reach of something significantly. Use. When talking about a business getting larger. Application. Expanding a company, increasing manufacturing. Example. After the pilot program succeeded, the company decided to scale up the service nationwide. Long-term thinking. Noun phrase. The act of making decisions based on their impact years into the future. Use. To contrast against short-term greed or quick wins. Application. Investing, education, sustainable business growth. Example. Successful leaders prioritize long-term thinking over monthly profits. Pivot. Verb or noun. Use: to suddenly and completely change direction or strategy. Definition: a sharp turn in how a company operates to find better success. Application: changing a business model, changing a career path. Example: the app started as a game but pivoted to become a social media platform. Go public. Phrase: when a private company offers its shares for sale to the general public on the stock market. Use: discussing a company's financial evolution. Application: finance, stock market news. Example: many employees became millionaires when the tech startup went public. Marketplace. Noun: an open platform, physical or digital, where many different people buy and sell goods. Use: describing the structure of an e-commerce site. Application: trade, digital economy, local markets. Example: the online marketplace allows independent artists to sell their work globally. Section 3. Innovation and efficiency. Think outside the box. Idiom: to think creatively and find non-traditional solutions to problems. Use: when encouraging creativity to solve a problem. Application: brainstorming sessions, engineering, creative writing. Example: we couldn't fix the car with standard tools, so we had to think outside the box and find a new solution. Disrupt. Verb: to drastically change how an industry works by introducing a new, better way. Use: when a new technology makes old companies struggle. Application: innovation, technology, competitive markets. Example: streaming services disrupted the traditional movie theater industry. Cutting edge. Adjective: the most advanced, modern, or newest stage of development. Use: to describe high-tech products or research. Example: the eye hospital uses cutting-edge lasers for eye surgery. Frugality. Noun: the quality of being very careful with money and avoiding any wasteful spending. Use: describing a modest lifestyle or a low-cost business culture. Example: despite his wealth, he lived a life of frugality, always saving for the future. Two-pizza rule. Concept: a rule stating that a team should be small enough to be fed by just 2 pizzas. Use: discussing how to keep meetings or teams efficient. Application: project management, meeting organization. Example: we follow the 2-pizza rule to ensure our meetings are productive. Section 4. Customer focus. Customer is king. Proverb or phrase: the philosophy that satisfying the customer is the most important part of a business. Application: used to remind staff of their priorities. Application: sales, retail,